how do you show in a workplace without appearances?
Well, so the thing there's eye service is one thing, but there's a thin line between doing eye service and then finessing. Like you're trying to finesse, yourself and finesse, within the workplace. And like I said, number one, you want to study your workplace environment and the people you're working with.
It's almost like flipped, right? Where if you know how to do the work back home, you are protected. Whether you don't speak a word, whether you are dumb, deaf and dumb, people would protect you even when you're not there.
Mental health is not a topic that a lot of people feel comfortable talking about, but I think our society has moved to the point where it is very essential to discuss it. A lot of people are struggling, with mental health issues, but they are not able to express it to anyone.
With this process, if especially you feel that you're getting to a place where you need counseling to help you with isolation or with depression. Because remember in Georgia State, we had different groups. You can do individual counseling, group counseling, or you have what you call a client advocacy group. I can share a little bit light on that later, if not in this topic or maybe the next topic where we are talking about some of the solutions to some of these challenges.
Sometimes even when you have friends, you have family, they may not be around. You may move. So it's like sometimes you have to recreate or regenerate your social support in the new place that you go. So that can become challenging when you have to move a lot, So this is one thing to also look at, because for me, I just look at when I've moved, there's this place where you have so much social support. It feels like almost feel like you're in Nigeria.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Happy weekend. I hope your week has been great, and I hope you've had the best, of activities within the week. It's been a very, wonderful one for me. Some good things and some not very good things as well. And but in all, we'll still thank God. One of the things that we always remain thankful for is the gift of life. I say as far as you have life, hope, stays alive. And so I just want to welcome everybody and to our listeners and viewers, depending on where you are, listening on or watching from. Thank you for, coming to this or visiting this particular episode. And for those of you that have been with us from the beginning, I've seen our previous episodes. We appreciate you. We thank you. And we, would love you to continue, staying with us and, seeing more of our programs, and not just, listening and viewing. We want to hear from you as well. We want to be able to get feedbacks, from you on our previous topics and what we're going to be talking about today. Last week we talked about the challenges that we faced on our immigration journey, and we each one of us we pointed out some of the issues that we had to deal with, which are not really specific to us. I mean, those are our experiences, but the experiences that we shared are common, amongst, international students. Some of you and our listeners are, probably international students as well who are in the US. You've been through some of these issues, and you've had some of these challenges as well. So they are not just unique to us, but, perspectives that we feel, other international students are faced, and intended international students, would be able to learn from. One of the main purpose for this podcast is not just to share our experiences, but also to help other people be able to learn from our experiences and other people's experiences as well. That's one of the main, reasons why we are doing this. And today, our focus today, it's mainly on mental health. every one of us, we have some mental health challenges that we're dealing with, at some point. And international students, immigrants coming into the US or even other, another country, UK, any other place in Europe, Canada, when you're moving, immigrating into a new country, there are certain um, mental health issues that one may face, and these are not really talked about a lot. Mental health is not a topic that a lot of people feel comfortable talking about, but I think our society has moved to the point where it is very essential to discuss it. A lot of people are struggling with mental health issues, but they are not able to express it to anyone, and perhaps don't even know the resources to use, to solve that the issues that they are dealing with. So that's what we want to really focus on today. The mental health challenges that international students face, and um, immigrants generally. Some of the things we'll be talking about, would not just relate to international students alone, but other immigrants coming into a new country such as the United States. And we hope you enjoy, today's podcast and today's episode. We hope you enjoy the conversation that we're going to be having today. And please, like always, when give us a feedback, what you think, and share your own experiences as well. We would love to listen, and learn from you. Without much ado, I would, switch gears to Aikohi, to move on and maybe start, the conversation today. And then from Aikohi to ending, and then I'll wrap it up. Um, Aikohi.
Yeah, so Blessing, thank you for that introduction. Hello, guys. Nice to meet you again. Counting every single episode, this should be the fourth. So I'm always excited to be here to be able to share not just my experience and all my knowledge, but also general information, which I think is going to be interesting to listen to. So today we're talking about mental health challenges, which is kind of in an African sense. A lot of people will laugh about it because we as Africans, we hardly don't even think anything like mental health exists. Of course, the only mental health we know usually is attributed to, or is characterized by states where people are actually literally mad in a sense, like psychosis. When you see somebody back in Nigeria walking on the street almost naked, without having their faculties with them. That's what we understand by mental health challenges. We don't even think as Africans that mental health challenges can be associated with a normal, sane-looking human being, where you have to deal with a lot of societal pressures. So I just wanted to give us an insight into that mental health cannot just be the guy you see walking down the street without clothes. It can also affect even normal human beings, especially students that are in diaspora, that are trying to get to school, trying to find a better life for themselves. And I also fall into one of those categories. So, in a nutshell, I would just give a brief insight to what some of the things that I experienced, and also some of the things that I believe that most students that are Africans or Nigerians in the US are also currently facing. So initially, when you come into the States, right, you've seen a lot of movies, you've heard a lot of stories, so you already have an impression of what the United States is. But in reality, once you get into the country, I can tell you that that's far from the truth. So what you see on the TVs or what you see in Hollywood is not really what's out there, right? Nobody tells you about the culture shock. Nobody tells you about the language barriers. Nobody tells you about the focus on the individual that can lead to you getting homesick, even getting depressed or getting anxious. So these are some of the issues that usually they don't show in Hollywood, which of course you experience as an immigrant once you get to the States. For me personally, when I got in, I think some of the things that I noticed were culture shock to me because I'm coming in from a country basically where it's a like what we practice is the Njama system, according to Julius Nyeri, whereby it's a cooperative society. Everybody's it's like a building block on one stone on the other, right? So there's a lot of support system. Whatever you have going through, you can either share it with your siblings, share with your family, even share with people that are not so close, that can be also be friends or people you just talk to. But over here, it's not like that, right? Nobody wants to even listen to that story in the first place because everybody has so much going on. So when I go here as a Nigerian, I also came in with that mindset that, yeah, just because I've always been an outgoing person. Now, yeah, just go out there, have conversations. So I don't think I'm going to have the isolation or the loneliness as part of it. But that was not really the case because of certain issues like language barriers. I noticed my first stint in the US was like we mentioned in the previous episode, was in Statesboro. When I came in, luckily for me, I had a good support system because we already had a Nigerian community already existing in Statesboro when I got in there. So it wasn't so bad. And like I mentioned, I was staying with Sheung at the time. But when eventually I moved to my own place, I still had 300 Nigerians with me. So really, in my 2 years in Georgia State, I really didn't face the issue of isolation as much. I actually started having that issue when I moved over for my PhD in Georgia Southern. When I moved over for my PhD in Georgia State, that's where I really started having the issue of isolation because I was trying to do a PhD in the big city. Like college towns where people are more together, it's more like a family unit. In big cities, people are so busy, you hardly see time to talk to anybody. And I started also staying alone. So what that literally means is there was really nobody to talk to. So imagine coming in from Statesboro, where I had like 3 roommates. Then I was moving over, transiting to Atlanta, where it was just me dealing with all these issues. So initially, when I started classes, of course, tried to, because I was already here for 2 years, I already had some experience with the languages. But still, I noticed that there was still some language barrier because most of the professors that was actually teaching me were actually Asians. And if you in America and you've been in America and you've been to classes where Asians teach, it's very different the way they speak their English compared to the way we actually also speak ours. So it took some understanding to be able to get across that. So that was one of the mental hurdles that you may actually face as an international student, because it might be difficult for you to really, if you don't understand what is being taught, you might not very do well in the class. But luckily for me, I really didn't have most of that issues because I was already familiar with the language. But I think the biggest thing for me was isolation, to be honest, because being in Georgia State, being in a big city, living alone, pretty much when I was done with classes, I was done with my lab, I pretty much went home and there was really nothing to do. Unlike in Nigeria where I was working, coming back home from work, if you stay in Lagos, you understand the lifestyle, you don't just go home because there's traffic and all of that. So basically, what you basically have to do is on your way back from Aikohi, you will just look for somewhere, this traffic is long. Why will I just burn gas and stay on Third Mainland Bridge for the next 4 or 5 hours? So what we used to do then when we were working as medical reps for Big Pharma, we would just leave our car, go to like open, for Nigeria, you guys will understand this, open size restaurants where you don't have to walk into an enclosed building. You have table and chairs. You have a lot of people just gisting. So you sit down, have a couple of beers, then you get all the information that is happening within the country on that particular setting, because everybody's saying, oh man, this is what's happening, or this is what they are saying in the news. So there's not this feeling of you're talking to strangers, because over the time you guys are able to possibly go to the same joint over and over again. They're able to build some kind of rapport. So that's been my lifestyle, right? Every evening before I come in, I usually just take, relax, get back home. That also helps with reducing my stress level. But getting to the States, getting to Atlanta, that was not very feasible because there was really no sports like that. And when I came into Atlanta, now it's a little bit different in 2025. In 2019, we didn't have a lot of Nigerian spots like that. They had a few. I remember there was one I think me a blessing went to when we were still in Statesboro, but not a lot. But so I really didn't have those places to go. So usually I just went home, and if I wasn't doing anything in classes, I was really bored, right? And these things were having negative impacts on your mindset. So social isolation, if you're not very careful, can also lead to depression, and that can also affect your academic performance, because if you're not really focused, it's difficult for you to remember a lot of stuff. Then another thing I think I also want to mention was when I came in and I was doing my master's in Georgia Southern. I'm working as a GTA, graduate teaching assistant. I had a professor, I'm not going to call her name, and that I clearly see that there was clear discrimination between you being black, not just being black, but also being African. So that's also another huge mental hurdle that you might actually face once you get to the US. It's not very overt, it's very subtle. So for some cases, it's overt. For that particular professor, it was very overt. I remember we were having one of these chemistry classes where I was doing a TA section for one of the students. So I don't know what happened to that student. I think she was sick. So she just she had syncope, or she fainted, right, while doing the experiment. And so the way chemistry labs is, for those of you that have not been opportune to be in a chemistry lab in the States, is usually you have two sections to it. You have like a lab A and a lab B, because they want to make sure that every student get access to the facilities. So they put about 24 students in one lab and the next 24 in the other lab. So if you are in GTA, the professor of the class will be teaching and it's going to be in one of the first lab, then you at the GTA is going to be in the other lab. So pretty much it's like you are in charge of 24 students. That's after the professor have gone through on the method for what they need to do today. So this particular incident actually happened in my lab. So once she fed it, I was like, oh man, what's going on? So I try as much as possible to try to rush to the scene. But I think what happened was she, fortunately and unfortunately, was actually walking in as at that time. So I was rushing to try to actually assist and bring up the student. She literally told me, don't touch her. I'm like, what? Like, this student was, I could, because I understood that she was almost going unconscious. She was falling down, right? So, and the way America is, it's not like in Nigeria where your partner, your lab partner that is with you, if you're falling down, might actually grab you. And in America, if you are falling down and you don't have any friends, they will let you fall. Like, because people are so scared about maybe litigation, or they're so scared about if something that happens, or not like, did you contribute to it? So she had a lab mate, because the way the lab actually works is they pair students, right? So you don't just work alone for undergrads. So she had a lab mate, but the lab mate totally was very unbothered, which, that's the way they are brought up. So I really understood. So I was the one that was trying to make sure that she didn't just fall and hit the floor. The professor came in and said I shouldn't touch her. Do you know what happened? That student fell. So when the student fell, so I waited for her, and I went out. So the impression I had initially when she said I shouldn't touch her was maybe she felt it was an electric shock, or maybe then if I touch her, of course, I can also, because it's electric current, then some electrons can pass on to me. But this wasn't electric shock at all. This was just so.
You shock. you go actually shock.
No. I what did I think so?
Electric shock.
Maybe she was worried saying electric shock, because but we're not in physics lab, right? This is not chemistry, so not chemicals we deal with. Of course, we did work with electrical wirings too, but I don't think there was any that was exposed. So I can't. Okay, let me wait. So she was so a little bit conscious enough to break her fall. So she didn't just collapse fully, but she fell on the ground totally, like fainting. So and I said, okay, let me go and possibly prop her up, so that she's not just lying with her face flat. They do it. So those are some of the positive theories. So you worry about discrimination, you worry about trying to fit in. Me, I've always been somebody that I like being my own person. But there's something about the US that they always like kind of putting you in a box, just in a nutshell, like just put you in a box. Now, this is who you are. So if they can't ascribe a particular person, a particular box to you, right? It becomes a situation where they feel they cannot actually deal with you, but they don't know how to interact with you. So they might build those some of those hurdles, mental hurdles, that I faced. Then also the issue of isolation where you get homesick, especially for somebody that's an extrovert like me, you go out there, a simple conversation where you just maybe you day Aikohi or you day island, you just go rumors, won't go relax, just see normal guy for boy, have fun, and when I go just they talk. You just try to start any small conversation here, people will look you weird. I remember the first day, if I tell you guys this, I've never told anybody, I will laugh. Remember the first time I moved to Atlanta, right? I was staying in Decatur. So I just show, because on our apartments now. So I had a 1-bedroom flat. Next to me, there was one guy, also 1-bedroom flat. I think he was a worker. There was one chick on top. It was on top of us. So I just okay. I was really bored at this. I just come out, go knock for the guy door. Say, bro, I knock. After the first time, second, come open door. Say, what's up? I said, man, why don't you want to hang out? Like anything when they try. I know you just come now. You hang out. We'll just find somewhere and go chill. There's not into all of that.
It's not it's
you understand what I and so I didn't I can't understand the implication of all those things for Atlanta. Atlanta is very you can't just walk up to a bro and say, man, bro they will look you weird. Say, God.
I don't identify as that.
Let's know what we are doing here. So they know what am I even saying, man? Not into all of that. I was so like into all of what? Like I was just playing the scenario in my mind. So when the guy don't lock door, come on, I can't enter my room. Oh boy, the thing can't dawn on me. If you see the shame, God, this guy PC maybe not the way they operate with this. And so I'm not they try to do the regular Niger thing. So be careful here too. Like in the state because of the way people identify differently, you can't just walk up on people. So you have that conversation slowly, like, hey, good morning, how are you? Like that, and then something, you build on that. You can't just go with that Nigerian spiritual boy, except you see another Nigerian, right? We go understand where they come from, or possibly another African. So those are some of the things that I actually had to deal with when I got to the state, right? That for me was actually, a very cultural shock because you don't expect people to label you certain things for you just trying to, try to overcome loneliness or trying to go out there and just have fun. So, so I think I would just give the floor to somebody else to say as well so that they can also share their challenges. But just before I just round up, it's not all lost. There are services out there within the states or within your school. If you're coming through school, services there that can actually assist you with this process. If especially you feel that you're getting to a place where you need counseling to help you with isolation or with depression. Because remember in Georgia State, we had different groups. You can do individual counseling, group counseling, or you have what you call a client advocacy group. I can share a little bit light on that later, if not in this topic or maybe the next topic where we are talking about some of the solutions to some of these challenges.
Yeah, in fact, that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Using your own personal experience, and for other people who are currently, facing such scenario, especially with the issue of isolation. Isolation is something that I think most immigrants feel, especially international students. Who do not have any form of support. There are some people that come in, they already have family members there, maybe their brother, their sister, or somebody related to them is already here, so they may be good. They have they have the necessary support. Some other people come into the country and they don't know anybody. They are just sound like me. When I came in here, I never had any family member or someone that I would say I've known from somewhere before coming, over here. So, the isolation aspect is something that I definitely felt as well. but I had my own ways back, that I used to, overcome that challenge or, solve that problem for me. So, but for you, you are definitely the kind of person, that is, I think you are like an extrovert. And is someone like you, facing the isolation issues, which definitely, could have led to some, mental health issues if it was not, attacked immediately or taken care of immediately. So, what are the measures that you use, to help yourself overcome that problem, or measures that people in, other people coming into the country or planning to come into the country, and like what are the measures that they can use, what are the measures that they can use to solve that problem. And
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question because similar to you, I also came in without having any familiar connection. In the States, I came in alone initially, and if you guys remember, I said I came in as so married man. So initially, when I came in first semester in Georgia Southern, I actually, to be honest, I didn't have a lot of that problems during my master program because in Georgia Southern we had a strong Nigerian community. And also, in addition to that, I also the next semester I also brought in my spouse, so it wasn't just me anymore. So I had somebody I could always talk to and channel some of those conversations with. But I think the isolation thing, like I mentioned, was when I actually switched over or transitioned to Atlanta when I was trying to do a doctoral program in chemistry because my spouse was still in Statesboro doing her own master's because she came in late with F2, had to go back to Nigeria to get an iPhone and got admitted in Statesboro. Why I had to move on and try to get a doctoral program in a different school. So basically, that's where I actually faced that isolation. So some of the things that I figured out, which I did to be able to overcome that, was I created a group similar to what we had in Statesboro. So we have a Georgia State Nigerian WhatsApp group. I was the brainchild of that idea. Though I never made myself any administrator, which is kind of funny. So I told Edwin to create the group, and Edwin and I believe Ayomide were the initial administrators. Ayomide was eventually we met during one of these welcoming parties. So what I advised for people to do was I had a blueprint, which was easy for me because I came into Statesboro, and Statesboro already had a blueprint. You create a group, you try to do welcome parties for Nigerian students, you try to do end of year parties if need be. So those things help a lot with isolation. And the essence of that WhatsApp group is people can quickly just reach out for information. People can actually also reach out if they want to hang out. So that's where some of the steps that which I took when I was in Atlanta. We created a group. We started doing, they were not doing any Nigerian welcoming party until I came. I said, no way. We must organize stuff. So when I come in, so Edwin, Ayomide, we did our first welcoming parties, send out the messages through the different graduate student associations, because each department has a graduate student association. So we try to reach out through that. So believe you me, the party made sense. Like, trying to buttress the isolation part. Everybody came because there was nothing to do. Like when people came and we were talking out, we estimated for about 20 persons. The people that came for that first party was like maybe 40, 30, 40. Food not even rich. Nigeria, you must cook and all this. So food not even, so guys who don't come, don't chop. People will see they come later, no food. But these guys didn't care. We just organized games. So the things we were doing was we did parties, we did game nights, whereby we could get different kinds of game, Uno, place chess, steps we took, right? Creating a group, trying to do a lot of welcome parties, doing a lot of group activities. We could do game nights. There were one we actually did where as a group, we went hiking. So those were some of the things I did. I participated in to be able to overcome the isolation. And from that group, I formed my own core friends. And then with those core friends, we're always hanging out all the time. We're playing soccer sometimes. Sometimes we'll go to the Nigerian lounge, just relax, listen to some good music, and grab a few bottle of beers. So those were the things we did. I actually didn't,
Yeah.
but
Awesome.
use the other options.
Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent. A lot of times we, at the time when you were creating, when you created this group, and you probably never thought about the impact, like how you were solving a problem that could be existing. You probably just created it then like, oh, this is just something nice that, we're doing in Statesboro, and it will just be great to connect with other students here, in Atlanta. And, you initiated the establishment of, the WhatsApp group, and, doing welcome parties. So these are things that definitely, helps a lot. And it's not just unique to Nigerian students. I think international students generally, regardless of what country,
Great.
from, this applies to everyone, coming into the country as an international student. So your perspective is greatly appreciated, and I believe a lot of our listeners and viewers will certainly be able to relate, with it, and also learn as well, some of the strategies that can be used, especially for students who are currently in certain universities, and some of these things are not yet, some of these measures are not yet, in place. These are some measures that they can, actually use, in their current situations, or in their current institutions, to help themselves and help other students around them. All right, Dr. Eniola.
Yeah. Interesting insights and conversation. I think I have maybe a couple of dimensions coming, but the first one is maybe, like they always say, where you land when you first come into the US, always have, it's always important in how your story would be,
Mhm.
Talking about the group, in Statesboro, of course, there used to be welcome parties, but I think at some point, you Blessing then created the WhatsApp group and added us as admin and all that stuff. But the impact, the WhatsApp group still exists till now, right? And it's like it's still having this sort of alumni kind of thingy, and that also help. It's not like it's not something someone else has done or thought of before potentially, but Mark coming in and seeing it happening, it's easier and quicker for him to go through it and develop. Because I think in your case, some of these things were already happening. Like there was the welcome party separately. There was a lot of different things in Statesboro, but then I think pulling everybody into a group where you can just share information. At some point, they were calling it the exchange FX, because people were always who get naira, who get dollar.
You have to solve every problem, man. So many problems.
It's always important, but I think the impact makes you feel very, very connected and united.
Yeah, I agree.
I also, I went to Texas A&M, and I could immediately see the difference in how some of these students, how they were managing themselves. Of course, there could be cliques, but there was no that umbrella, like organization where you can feel to be part of if you want to, and even if you don't want to, you're still fine, that kind of a thing. But of course, people were still friendly. We have crews, we have some small groups and all that kind of things. But this topic, I don't know how we can really finish it, because even on just, it's almost like every example you have, I have an example for it, like maybe 3 or 4 for it, as the case. Let me just throw one out there. So I remember when I was in Statesboro, there was this elderly woman. She filled her card up. She must be like maybe 70, 80, walking gingerly. She was in my front. No, she was not in my front, actually. I think she was behind. Her card was full. I was not like, madam, come from.
Let me help.
You said?
I say you want help.
Come front, make I can't. She try to look somehow and say, oh, okay. Well, she say, I make her help and put. And she shall say, okay, make her just do. Well, I see how she they look. Okay, because I look the cashier. I get the way the cashier they look me. That kind of say, what's this boy?
Yeah, because you're acting differently from what you understand.
So that one happened. So I kind of had to leave it, because there was no change in countenance, that kind of a thing. And that thing always stays with me. I'm like, how can even all these people be here? and you be letting this
Old woman.
do her thing. Another time I wanted to try it. That one she they go her motor, her boots. I go say, me too. I just I said, make I quick. But when they come, when the woman do like this, I say, what's going on? Okay, I just
call police for you.
Make I just they go. That thing always stays with me. But there was one I had to. I mean, this woman wanted to cross the road, like very busy intersection. Like this woman was working with walker in between hospitals. Everybody, you go see uniform all over the place. That woman was on her own, and rain don't fall. That small. If you see the small, it wasn't even a gutter. You go closer, she not fit. I carried the woman. She had no weight, but she was very happy because she was there. People were crossing like this.
And nobody go even look aside. Like the thing.
What I say, she know Danny. So as I carry her cross the gutter, I can't follow and waka cross the road, wait, just those things. Because sometimes I just say, actually my grandma go do this situation, I can't say something do me. These are some of the small things, and they are not wrong. Let me tell you what happened yesterday. Yesterday, here in my apartment, one woman, she's quite elderly too. She locked herself outside. So as I got down, I think it was around 6:30. She was like, "Oh, please, can I come?" And she was trying to say something like, "Can I carry her?" She was on the second floor, right? So okay, I'm not sure we can carry you. Of course, I can't be climbing house too, that kind of thing. But I was with her. I'm like, okay, maybe she gets some other person, and we can think of what to do, how to get her in the house. Anyway, so when some guys came, she went to talk to them. Oh, the guy came. Guys, wait, they are from here. The guy was like, never. Like say, go call one of his friends. Wait, if the guy get ladder. 3 of those guys. Three guys. They all look like at least 30s and 40s. They come. They say, she locked herself. It's like, brah, those guys just walk and say sorry. Brah. Me, I see they tell her, maybe she won't do this. Maybe we'll call. Maybe we'll. Those guys just waka. Meanwhile, at the same time, luckily for her, on her floor, our neighbors, one elderly man, he said he'll get like a screw. He will try. I think there's some ways he can try to unlock it for her. Then our other neighbor can say, okay, she can come and stay, just sit in her house. Because I was telling her to come and sit in my car just to chill. And it was getting cold, Is that 6:37? By that time, 7 don't knock. And I just look. So you could just leave it. Those guys just enter the house. Because this could be me, it could be anybody. If I lock myself, my key in the car before, luckily I had my phone and I had AAA. And I just moved to this place. In fact, that AAA, I loaded it 3 days before because one of my coworkers told me to load it, to download it when I moved. Now that thing saved me because I just did. If my phone was in the car, that was it.
So what did they do? Did they break? Did they just?
No. AAA now they have things to help you. Yeah, they have material like a rubber. They'll put through the windshield. They now put something for you. So I just had to wait. Luckily, I had my jacket and my phone on because you know how cold it is. But anyway, these are some of the things that you kind of just have to know or figure out what to do or how to behave. Some of them, when you are in Rome, you can act like you're in Rome. But then what I've also found in certain situations, when you do things differently and it's something that doesn't have any connotation, people also notice you. Especially the older ones. They would notice you. They would not, because they wouldn't ask other people to do it. Because that happened to me. I don't know if I can say this. At Georgia Southern Library, that old woman, she was like the elderly woman. Anytime I come, anything I want to do, she will be doing because I'll come and greet and do all those things. She was volunteering at the library. Anything I needed, she would go for, talk to this one, talk to that.
Yeah, you just have to be nice.
She apparently, another person too did it, a lecturer. She was the one that now explained to me, said there's a way I talk to them, I approach them, greet, like all those things. Now they see greet for this area. I think they not the greet. You see the issue now. You see that, so this thing you have to figure out. So if I needed something, reference anything, if I read the reference, I will say, "Now me in person reference like this."
Whether they're talking about someone else,
I figure out, or I stumbled on it, but of course, there's a way to properly act. I just also wanted to mention something about the incident in the lab. So
Yeah.
there are case issues where, if you help someone, they might get worse. But then there's something called the Good Samaritan law. I don't know if it's a federal law. It might be, or maybe there's a version for states sometimes. So essentially, it tries to make sure you don't get incriminated when you're trying to help someone. So that law is there. I know that's the name, but I can't remember the details. It's been a long time since I went into it. So that is supposed to protect you. Someone is about to fall, you catch them. Now they still break one leg. They're like, oh, you let them break one leg. They can say, oh, well, you could have broken your head, but you broke, that kind of a thing. Right. So that way you're not held, or at least you're protected. Let me put it that way, because I'm not a lawyer. There's nothing you can't litigate in this area.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to put that out there. Another thing I wanted to say, I think, is that something. The fact that we are coming from an area, this is kind of medical thing, but the fact that we have melanin, and we're coming from an area that the sun has high intensity. The longer you stay here, the more you start to become vitamin D deficient. So these are cases where you start to see that you just get tired. You've not done anything. You are tired already. You keep going to the hospital. They check everything clean. If got a baby, what did happen here? So this has happened to a lot of us, because I noticed someone was taking high strength vitamin D, blah blah blah. I didn't think too much about it, then it happened to me too. So these things, and I noticed once you're around like 5 years ish, roughly, that's when you start to. I've not done the study, but I just noticed when people say they are feeling like this or they are on vitamin D, I ask, how long have you been around? When did you start taking it? It's kind of you have that. So that's something that can help. Maybe just vitamin D supplements. I mean, maybe you can just take it. Of course, go to the hospital and check yourself to make sure there's no other thing happening. Sometimes that's the case. Because the time I was going to the hospital, I think it was one of the nursing practitioners that figured it out. The doctor wasn't sure what was going on, but I don't know what our experience was. Sometimes this thing is the patients you interact with also shape your practice, right?
Oh no, for sure. That's why it's a patient-centered approach.
Yeah. So that's one thing. Another thing I wanted to mention is also sometimes even when you have friends, you have family, they may not be around. You may move. So it's like sometimes you have to recreate or regenerate your social support in the new place that you go. So that can become challenging when you have to move a lot, So this is one thing to also look at, because for me, I just look at when I've moved. There's this place where you have so much social support. It feels like almost like you're in Nigeria. But then you move to other places, it's not very easy because maybe it's a town, maybe it's a rural. Some of these things can also make it challenging. And each area you have is like composition. Some areas you have younger people. Some areas older people. Some areas you have a lot of Nigerians. Some areas you have a lot of Nigerians that don't want to talk to themselves. Some areas you have a lot of Nigerians that really want to talk to themselves. So it's like that can just has nothing to do with you. It's just the environment that you're in and what you're able to do. So that can also be factored in. Maybe when you're trying.
Yeah, in fact, you're correct, because for me, I think I'm going through that particular phase right now. I was in Atlanta for 5+6 years. And if you live in Atlanta and you're living in any other city, you will clearly tell the difference. The advantage that living in high Black population cities is you tend to see a lot of things similar to what you understand compared to when you are in certain cities. Because where I am currently, it's I'm in Cincinnati. It's very different from Atlanta. The demographics, the nature of life, the way they talk, their values, the way they even drink, the way they party, everything is totally different. The way they worship, the way they even look at you, the way things are actually discussed. So like you said, you always have to look for a way to regenerate social structures. And I also admonish that if you have a choice for you to be able to cope with mental health challenges, if you have a choice, always stay in cities or in places where you have strong social structures or strong social support. right? Because I understand that the problem with this country is you always have to look for money to be able to pay bills. It's not like in Nigeria, because I was saying, you guys, oh, I have family. Bro, even with your family here, it's just very different. Like, say you have family in Nigeria. Now, how will I know that? Because I have worked in Nigeria and have worked here. So working in Nigeria, man, it's very different. It's a very chill lifestyle. Let's not even just beat around the bush. Like, I'm not saying we are not doing anything. We are working, but there's no this unnecessary emphasis on, oh, you have to do this, you must miss this deadline, or you just have to be busy. Let me explain what I mean. You have to be busy. I remember working in dining commons and students were not around. There was nothing to do. Bro, you can't sit down. The supervisor will come and tell you to come and stand up. Now my question is, there's nobody here.
So what was I to do?
That's just the American mindset. They just can't see you idling about. Like, it's not like that. If there are people there, you are attending to them. If there are not anybody there in Nigeria, nobody see if you're there's nobody there, you're sitting down. Your supervisor will not come and say, why are you sitting down? There's nobody here now. You've done what you need to do. You are serving the food. You are making sure everywhere is tidy. But in America, the minute there's see you taking a sip or just chilling, just go. No, you have to you can't sit down here. We don't do that here. Like, my goodness, $4 per hour. Lord have mercy. So these are the So I'm saying, regardless of whether you have family or not, this thing mentally they affect your family too. So they come home a little bit angry, come home a little bit frustrated. So even that's so the environment also, regardless of whether you have family or not, has a huge effect on the way we process mental challenges. I just wanted to add that.
I think another way I would couch what you just said is like workplace mental health itself on its own. Workplace,
that's the whole
environment. That one is Is a
but I'm saying you can't separate it because the workplace affects your person.
No. I'm not separating it. I'm separating it as an episode, just like work.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Many levels to these things, right? Like,
I don't know. They're like, especially guys that are not working for themselves. Man, shit. There's a lot.
Most people are not working for themselves. I mean, there was a post I saw on LinkedIn just before we started. The person posted something about toxic workplace. That thing had 22,000 likes. I think it had about 12,000 or something comments. Like, bruh, I don't think I've seen anything that much on LinkedIn. But that would take a whole lot of unpacking by itself, right? So that's a workplace thingy there that you just described, right?
That's what I'm saying. So Blessing, before you go, I just want to summarize that I understand what Annie was saying. So Annie, you are also having, like, we understand this is going to cut across everybody. In fact, I think Blessing is also going to have the same issues. So the issues you face was issues of isolation, a little bit of discrimination, which is kind of similar to what I said, social isolation. But did you have any feeling of being anxious as a result of this? Did you get depressed? Did you have any cultural shock? Did you have any what people call imposter syndromes? Because I know that's also another huge mental health challenge where, like I mentioned, you come in and because you've always been questioned about your knowledge. Like, are you sure you can do this? Eventually, you begin to believe that maybe you don't deserve certain things because the society is structured that way. So that's the imposter syndrome I was talking about. So did you have any of those? Does any of those mental health challenges lead to any of those outcomes?
So no. So it's for me it's different, and I've thought about it even before now. Culture shock, I take most things as they come and just try to adjust. In fact, what used to happen to me is that when someone is doing something, I'm like, oh, maybe they don't understand well. Let me educate them so they can come up to speed. You see the problem. You see the problem I'm creating. Someone that knows what they are doing. Me, I'm trying to say, okay, maybe they don't really know. Because I've actually had people accuse me of being too positive. Have you seen that accusation before? Someone
That's weird.
accused me of being too. So it's like
When you're too positive, sometimes it feels like you're not realistic.
Yeah.
Exactly. People think you're not in touch with reality.
Well, I say that because, of course, there's no context to what I just said. So, I think it's in a version of where maybe someone is doing something that I guess it's just how I am reading the situation. Like, okay, if you're just starting to talk to someone, you're just starting. To me, there's no basis for anything, right? So let's just get to better understand, ourselves, how things are going to work. So that's how I am. You understand that kind of thing. So,
and there's nothing wrong.
What I learned later,
Yeah.
some like two different people, they come in that these people, even from day one, this person are my enemy. That's how they come in, and that's how they are able to just keep everybody at like that. So it's like different mindset, and both of the one of them, interestingly, is actually African American. The other one is actually white. But that's how they come in. Like, for this place, all of now, you won't cause trouble for me. I'm gonna, I'm already trying to cause trouble for you as well. So let's go. But I think it might also be this might actually be happening to you guys too, because I think I'm just being maybe a Nigerian in that sense, right? We are very well. We know who we are. We are fully grounded in what we know. All these things. I mean, I'm speaking in general, but you understand what I'm trying to say. We're not trying to figure out where our daddy is or where our grandfather was from. Walk on the street of Lagos, someone sees you, you Aikohi, yeah, I know your grandfather, that kind of a thing. So I think all those things is very, very undervalued because it really grounds us, right? Maybe to continue on that line a little bit. If you have found people that they're in a household where maybe the firstborn is a citizen, the secondborn is not, maybe they're Nigerian parents. I when I talk to some of those people, they have this identity crisis in a way. And you can say they question a lot of things, so that they even start to, if you're just talking normally, they think you might be attacking them. So I'm saying we, coming from back home, we come for the most part, all those things are sets. They're not things we're trying to fill any gaps in that area. So I think it makes us show up in a way that, we're confident about who we are. And you hear people say, oh, Nigerians are very outgoing, they are very hardworking, they are entertaining. They describe it in multiple different ways, but all those things are also kind of easier for us when a lot of certain aspect of ourselves. It's not, you don't even know there's a thing like that until you get here, start to hear those things. So now, to create imposter syndrome, for instance, for me, you have to, because later is when I caught on that these people are trying to say I can't do something. It was later. Then for me, it's ridiculous, right? Because that's how I come at it. I'm like, because I just try to look at the evidence. I that's what I do every time. All over, like, I look at myself and the things I think of, and I listen to them when they talk. I'm like, this is fluff. You just know how to say it better. So me, I just rate it like that and just say the difference is either opportunity or you grew up in this place or your skin color. Me, there's no, so that's how but then it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect you, because someone can take away opportunity from you.
Build on that.
It's like, this is how I describe the analogy. It's like someone can come in and just say, okay, this person cannot run. Let's say two people want to run. Someone comes in and say, oh, this person A cannot run. Right? Then they now put person A and person B, who they say person B can run. They now set them on the same line. These same people now give person A the running shoes. They now put pin inside. The same person that said person A cannot run, you see, now gives that person the running shoe that has pins inside. How is person A supposed to run? So essentially, that's where it would affect someone. And to me, that's how I put it. So that they're looking at you in a certain way, but they are also making sure that outcome is likely going to happen. Except now, you are just too good. Like you are, and the formula I have is times three times. If you are from our climb, you have to do 3 times. If you do 3 times, that's when you are, if you do 1 for 1, you nothing. I mean, you've not started. If you do 1, you're like, yeah, that guy, yeah, whatever, yeah, he's trying, yeah, we don't care, something like. If you do 3 for 1 hand, then they will, okay, I think this guy is okay. They'll feel more comfortable. They talk about you. So that's it, and that in itself is a mental stress, right? Where you have, I was talking to some of our friends, they do reviews. You're like, the best this, the best that, the best this, the best that, but they promote someone else. You're like, wait, what did this person really do? You have all this kind of issues. So so gradually, I think over time, one way or the other, it begins to impact you for multiple reasons, whereby maybe it affects the money that you can make. It affects how you think about yourself. No, I mean, we're really, I like to say we're really strong people, but the environment also makes who you are, because after a while, you're no longer in Nigeria. You're no longer from Nigeria, so to speak, after a while. So the environment is like you begin to take the shape of the environment. You are forced, basically, let me put it that way, into a shape. There's something that you were also talking about, which was very important. I think in the US, you are better off creating a label for yourself and designing it and pushing it forcefully. This is something I figured out later, which, unfortunately, you already come as you are, and they just stamp whatever label they want to stamp on you. And that's a problem, because the label they already have for you is not useful to start with. That it's just not useful. So if you let people just put the label on you, I think it's better if you can figure out what you might be good at, or how you want people to relate, let me say your brand, so to speak, before you even start. If you can, despite all the challenges, it will help a lot. I think that's how I can say, because they have to put a label on you, and the label they want to put on you is not going to be helpful. It's not going, even when you are 3 times better, there's already a label. These people, we just let them now.
I mean, it makes sense, because they don't have all the information about you that you have about yourself.
Well, no. So this way,
I'm not saying they are doing it in a positive sense. I'm saying sometimes what I've also seen is when people don't understand certain things because of their ignorance, right, or because of their lack of knowledge, they just ascribe what they think it is to you. So, and now the problem with that kind of negative messaging is, like you said, it affects everything. How much you earn, how far you can go. I have experiences like that, but we're not going to say that in this podcast. I'm just trying to buttress your point that it's always best to create an image for yourself.
Yeah.
And just down everybody.
If you can, and push it forcefully if you can.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've seen people that I think did that. They were just, whatever, but they were able to create that thing and push it forcefully on everyone, and take whatever opportunity they get. That way, I'm sure they still have challenges, but I think pound for pound, it's probably a better strategy. The only other issue I have is, why is it that label that they have is just not ever, there's never a positive label. They don't have any positive label in their repertoire for you. So I think that's why it's better to create that image or label, if you can, for yourself, and try to push it forcefully. So I think maybe one thing I also wanted to mention is because this is an area that I also research, right, with my public health experience, and I also have a publication on it. I have a group of people that also work in that mental health area as well. One of the particular study that I did, I think a couple of years during the pandemic, actually, I looked at the impact of the pandemic on the academic, the financial, and mental health of international students. Although I used the Texas A&M international students as a sample, but Texas A&M actually has the highest number of international students in the US, as far as I remember.
Really? I didn't know that.
It's also the most enrolled university, don't worry, in the US.
Yeah, but being most enrolled does not translate.
It's the most enrolled university too in the US.
But does that translate to having most international students?
If you don't like feeling lost but still want to move to the US, then tune into the McBleny Podcast show. Meet E&I, Blessing, and Aikohi, your friendly guides to making the big move to the US. Whether you're dreaming of new opportunities or reuniting with family, we've got you covered. Our mission? To give you the tips, tricks, and insights you need to navigate the immigration process smoothly. So grab your headphones and get ready to embark on your journey with us. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, I think they have about, at the time, maybe 5,000 students.
Internationals?
Yes, international students.
Bloody.
Yeah, so that's more than some universities in the US. So that's what I mean.
That's a huge school, man.
Yeah. So
5,000 international students. Wow.
I'm blanking on some of the specific of the research now, but wherever you go, I'm sure that's
right.
Top 1 or 2, whatever it is. Maybe something changes, whatever. But essentially, we were, the pandemic was an extra stressor, right, by itself, because we found some people lost their funding. And when students had any challenge with paying any form of bills like rents, or that like increased their mental distress by 3 times, that kind of. So we have this, even the academics is another issue, because now it stresses you more. Not just that you might be having issue with the format that they're taking some classes, but also your academics determines your stay. You know how this is linked up. Your stay in the US if you fail. So this can create even more mental distress, right? For people. So you have these multiples on top of the pandemic itself. Then the isolation of oh my God, that was another issue. So you have people actually reporting depression, from that study. Depression, lack of interest in doing anything, lack of sleep. This were, I don't want to make it too academic, so I'm just like highlighting some of the main things there. But there's the issues are there. Then because it was set in the pandemic, I just want to couch it within that pandemic. But nonetheless, these are some of the issues that you face that then can translate. You can't pay your rent, you can't, you don't know, you just lost funding, you're struggling in school. All these things then affect your mental health, and even maybe multiple. When they're also happening together, when they interact. Right? Yeah, so it's an interesting space. I have a couple of groups that are still looking into this, because what we found actually was I don't think there was any. It was hard to find studies that looked at international students in that way, right? A lot of studies we look at, undergraduate, psychology student, education student, a lot of, we have a lot of all those things, but to look at that group wasn't what. Yeah. So I was really happy to be able to contribute to that literature, because I think. There's a body that also handles these international students. I think I can't remember their name anymore, but they will be able to find that data at least useful, gain some insight into the mental distress and mental health challenges that international students are facing. I think those are some of the points I just wanted. They're kind of like here and there, because some of them are talking to what you spoke about. Some of them were also like some of the other things that I've seen, like the vitamin D experience, and even the study I conducted with the other students, and also how your social supports. It's kind of dynamic depending on where you stay, or if you change where you're staying as well. So these are some of the challenges. I think maybe another one I will maybe want to add is when you have to support people maybe back home. That can be a challenge. Or if you have someone that is sick back home and you can't do anything, maybe 2 things. Maybe you can't send money, or even if you can send money, you can't be there. This can be stressors, right, on someone's mental health.
Yeah, it was mental health.
While you're in the US, and maybe you cannot even travel because maybe money, all these things then comes to play as well. So I think having a community always helps, and going to the universities, they have counseling units, and I think religious bodies too are also wonderful places to to have that people approach. I think they have more. For example, at the church that I go to at Grace Bible Church in Texas, was actually founded by a former student, so it was very, very student centric with how we ran everything. So. And international students as well. In fact, they have one day where at the beginning of semester, I think 2 weeks into the semester, there are roughly, They would collect things from all of people that live around, mattresses, chairs, tables. They collect and they pull it together to give away to mostly international students, actually. So and that can help because now you don't have to buy things. You don't have to buy that. So that those are some of the ways that you get through the blues, so to speak.
Awesome, 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 man. That was pretty interesting. And I mean, like I said earlier, at the beginning, I said a lot of the experiences that we have are going to be interconnected. That we most likely will share experiences that is kind of common, amongst so many international students. And I think one of the points you were raising earlier is what they call acculturative stress, which is a situation where your culture, you have certain habits and certain behaviors derived from your culture, and then when you come into a different environment with and you are trying to exhibit that behavior based on your culture, but it's strange, but it's looking strange to the host person's culture, like you're describing, the experience at the store, trying to help someone and they're looking at you. Yeah, and then Mark's experience as well with his neighbor, trying to talk about, hey, he was feeling bored, when he moved to Atlanta newly, and he went to, to his neighbor, like, hey, would you like to hang out? So, I mean, of course, based on our background, that's the normal thing, right? Like, just meet people and like, hey, what's up? You're not even thinking in that direction, but coming into this environment, especially Atlanta, it's very, very understanding for it's understandable why the neighbor would have looked at him like, yo, I'm not like that, and so that acculturative stress is something that I think a lot of international students definitely face and try to balance out. Some people that are able to quickly adjust, and some others it takes a while for them to adjust, to it. So, and whether you're the person that it takes a while for you to adjust, or you're the person that you're able to quickly adjust to the new culture, it is okay. Whatever works for you, just do whatever works for you. And I definitely remember coming into the country as well and meeting some professors and people that of course way older than me, perhaps my dad's age, and asking me to, oh, my name is Joe, just call me Joe. I'm like, the other, my name is Dan. I'm like, stop, you are you are black, I cannot just be calling you by your first name. Number one, you're a professor, and then number two, you're old enough to be my dad. So I can't just say, well, just call me Dan, just call me, Joe. It was very difficult for me to, adjust to that. Coming from Nigeria, that elderly people, you're either Mr. This or Sir, this, everything you end with Sir, everything, or Ma, is a woman. And then just coming in like, oh, my name is Joe, my name is Dan. I'm like, it was, it took me a while to be able to, start relating with people and relating with some of our, I mean, these are friends that I made who are way older than I, relating with them, and calling them just, by name. So that's acculturative stress, and it's very, very common. But for people that are coming into the country or currently going through it, the thing there is, number one, whatever culture that we have or whatever behaviors that we have based on our culture, our values should always remain the same. When you're coming in here, you don't necessarily have to change who you are or change your personality, just to match the new culture. Your values should always remain the same. If you are a person that is very respectful, remain respectful, So the fact that I'm meeting an elderly person and then I'm able to, relate to them by calling them by their first name does not mean I will disrespect them. I will still recognize that, I still recognize that they are older than I am and they deserve that respect, as elderly people. And so then also, Mark, you talked about imposter syndrome. I think that's one of the, um, at the beginning when I came in, of course, I had, that experience, where you're feeling like always
You
felt
feel,
like I wasn't
yeah,
good
you feel
enough.
like, yeah, you're very good
Mm,
enough. Yeah.
I wasn't good enough, and things that I know, sometimes in class, I wouldn't answer questions in class, even when I know the answer, because
Why
it's
is
more
that?
like you're doubting. I'm doubting myself, like,
You're not sure, right?
yeah,
You don't want to be wrong.
I don't want to be wrong, and because number one, you are an international student, you're an
Mm.
African student. A lot of these people already, or some of them that are not as exposed or have never really met or interacted with international students, already feel like you are not intelligent enough. You know, there is just this, unfortunately, coming into the US and speaking with different people, you hear certain things, and some folks who have not really interacted with internationals, especially Africans, they have a whole different perspective because all they've ever known or all they ever thought about is, or the knowledge they have is based on what they've seen on TV.
Yes,
You know,
correct.
that, yeah, it's based on what they've seen on TV. So when they are seeing you as an international coming in, such people are like looking at you like some dumb person who really doesn't know anything
So,
until
so in your
you
opinion, what
become.
do you think is the best way to address that?
I mean, so in that kind of situation, you have to, number one, like what Annie said. One of the points he said, creating your own image, right?
Label. Yeah.
Your own label. You have to show them that you are actually intelligent, even no
They're made
matter.
of stuff.
Yeah, you have to really show it out. I had, number one, my grades, of course, were, my grades, were showing it. Throughout my masters, my in the first semester that I spent for my masters, I think it was the last semester that I never, I my the first 3 semesters I had all A's, and then the third semester was the one I had just maybe one B. I would have had a 4.0, but I just had one B. And I think I figured out that that is very common across a lot of international students, especially Nigerian students.
Yeah.
Having like 4.0 GPA, for masters, and it shows. And I think that for a lot of people may not know, like students, but professors, they see this and they would know, and they are seeing the grades. And people like that, they'll know that these people are actually intelligent, right? Because coming into this environment and acing, like you're top of the class, it's something that nobody will be able to doubt, we are. But again, as an individual, we're still in that kind of, we still get to, that situation where we sometimes doubt ourselves and really do not want to put ourselves out there. And one of the things I learned coming into here is Americans are very loud people. When they are
You
talking,
have to put yourself out there.
sometimes, they speak so loud and confidently, and then that can be intimidating if you're not the type of person that is maybe an extrovert or someone that also knows how to speak very loudly, you know. Because someone that is an introvert, normally they don't speak loudly and they don't want to be involved in things. So people sometimes misinterpret it as not being intelligent or something because the
Yeah.
person doesn't talk, the person doesn't like this person quiet, or or they don't know what is going on, they don't know what they are doing. But that is definitely not always the situation, right?
Of course
So
not. So you're
yeah,
saying for introvert like us, we have to talk more.
yeah, I mean, you you are definitely not an introvert. You are definitely not an introvert. You,
Explain.
you are the life of the party. Anyway, yeah, when you get into any environment, some people will know that there is somebody called Aikohi that just got here, So
True,
which is
true.
a good thing, which is a very good thing. But for those that are introvert, there are other ways, there are so many ways that you can make your presence felt. You know, in all, I just the point I'm trying to make is people should always make their impact known, and do not allow yourself to be overridden.
Yeah.
Do not allow yourself to be pushed aside. Do not allow yourself to, not just in school, even by the time you're done with school and you're working and within a work environment, you want to prove yourself because you think that, oh, I will just be doing my thing quietly and I will just be humble. I mean, it's good to be humble. It's good to do your thing quietly, but in an environment, a lot of, you're in, I've figured out that a lot of work environments are such that if you are not putting yourself out there and people are not really seeing that you are actually doing something, you're doing it, everybody is doing it, but you have to, in some ways, not deliberately, but sometimes maybe deliberately also just show yourself. You have to just show up, once in a while,
Yeah,
so
so
that
that they will know you are invested. Because they will think you are not invested in it. Yeah.
they think you're not invested, and sometimes they just feel like you are just one of the normal, people in the, and then we're thinking about, okay, we want to push people up or we want to do something different. A lot of times the names that they come up with are names of people that is very common. There are people that in the workplace, if they are saying, oh, this is a person, we need somebody that can, go to maybe a particular country and help us deal with a particular problem. Who are they going to call? They are going to talk about someone that is always talking about that country, right? Or someone that they know that, okay, has a lot of knowledge about that country. So it's more like you can, like the work I do, working with different countries, we have people within the office with different work, different experiences who have worked in different countries. So it's more like if they don't know, that, oh, if you have an experience working, a prior experience working in a particular country, and you know so much about the health, the public health systems in that country, but you don't always talk about it. You don't put it out there. Most people don't know. When they're looking for people, nobody will call you. They will call somebody else. Right. So a lot of times it's very important also to, to put one's, skills, your intelligence, show off your intelligence, let people see that, okay, this person is actually intelligent. With that, nobody would kind of just, override you or overlook and be thinking, or maybe you, as an African, you don't know, what you're doing, or try to be looking at you like, or maybe you're not capable of doing certain things.
So blessing.
Back to school.
Just to ask a question before, so that I don't forget. I know I should have written it down, but what I'm saying is, I think there's a problem in these clients in America. They mistake appearance for passion. So people that being showing up and creating a lot of noise necessarily doesn't translate to people that are actually invested in making that project get to completion. So the people that are invested are people that are passionate about the project. So my question to you is this: for Nigerians, for me, for most of us, right? We call that thing for Nigeria high service. Sacrifice. People just come, just the guy just they busy, but not being they get the work done.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So people know they like do that kind of thing, but they are passionate about the job. So my question is, how do you show passion in a workplace without appearances?
Well, so the thing there's eye service is one thing, but there's a thin line between doing eye service and then finessing. Like you're trying to finesse, yourself and finesse, within the workplace. And like I said, number one, you want to study your workplace environment and the people you're working with. And then also try to know how they determine those that, will move upwards. If someone is always, if, depending on maybe the task you're doing is always like a teamwork. You're doing a teamwork, most of the time. It is very essential to record. If you're not the type of person that wants to do some kind of eye service, make sure that your contribution to every teamwork is recorded. You have a documentation of all your contribution to every teamwork that is going on. And Michelle, I'm coming, okay? Oh God, we have to cut this part out. Yeah, we have you always want to make sure that your contribution is always documented, and whosoever is probably the supervisor over the team knows your contribution. And also sometimes take leadership within the teamwork. It could be that they are maybe rotating or leadership, within, or someone that will be in charge of maybe particular projects, within your team. Do not shy away from taking leadership, on working on certain projects. Do not always be the person that will just want to stay at the back. I just want to do my work quietly and, not talk or not do anything. I mean, that's fine, but once in a while, try to also take leadership, because humility. No, Mike, I think your mic is off. You're muted, any.
No, I didn't mute him. He's the one that is organizing the podcast. So he muted himself.
No, we can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. You can hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, clear now.
Sorry. I thought you heard me then. I was saying it's not fine. Listen, that thing you said, someone should be working quietly in this environment. It's not fine. As someone that has suffered it multiple times, it's not.
Let's also be realistic, right? What I'm saying is this: some people are not just comfortable being at the forefront. I agree. I understand what Blessing is saying. Blessing is saying in this environment, it's like when you go to Rome, you have to act like a Roman. You have to look around. You have to look around the features of the environment and say, okay, this is what they expect of me, or this is how they promote people here, so I have to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying some people can easily do that, right? But I've noticed that the people that are really passionate about something, they don't like changing their core self. That's what I've noticed about passion. So now I think it gets to a point where probably you have to be looking for jobs that matches your passion. Because if it's a natural fit, I think people, when you are passionate about certain things, and if it's a natural fit, it's not a problem for you to be able to leave your comfort zone, to be able to do certain things, right? But the problem we have in America is most people coming in, usually we have to fit in because we're living where we are as immigrants, right? Living all the things we're passionate about. Most times, like for me, I was passionate about pharmacy. I'm not practicing as a pharmacist now. So everything I'm doing now is second level. If you understand what I'm trying to say, like for me, pharmacy was first level. There are certain things that for pharmacy, I didn't need to think about it. It was second nature. Like the medication, the drug interactions, the counseling service, the patient clerking, those things I did for 7-8 years, formative years, and to me it became second nature. But now I have to retrace my step because of the greener pasture thing. See, this is a huge mental hurdle. You have to retrace yourself. You are leaving everything that you are actually maybe initially passionate about and trying to figure out another passion. I think the reason why most of us struggle in our jobs, I'm not saying like us, three of us, I'm saying generally why most people struggle in the larger sense of it is because of the necessity of the money. They just have to do what is required without doing what they love.
Absolutely.
So Mark,
the problem with that is you can never, ever actualize your full potential.
Yeah, Mark, I think I would go at it maybe slightly different. I think this is that maybe too late.
Sorry, Bless, I'm not trying to cut you short. I'm asking you that question so that you can also chip in. Then you can give us a broader perspective of what you think.
Yeah, because this is how I see it. Sometimes you may have multiple passions. Sometimes this environment will help you express a passion that you didn't know that you had, but maybe it was somewhere, but you're in this environment now, you can really shine. I've seen that happen to people. But I think the other layer of it is really the portion of how we show up at work. You guys talked about by the way, sorry, I had to pick Popsy's call. His call is I need to pick in that moment. So anyways, I think what happens is when you walk back home, like you talked about how their culture is, it's almost like flipped, right? Where if you know how to do the work back home, you are protected. Whether you don't speak a word, whether you are dumb, deaf and dumb, people would protect you even when you're not there. You shall know how to do that work. Like says the extrovert, the introvert, no one cares.
And I think for
wait.
No, I just want to tell you why, because there's no bias that we have here. That's your home. So people are not limiting you, but over here it's different.
Yeah. So well, I mean, I'm not saying the reasons, right? I'm just saying how, this is what works. This is how it is. So now you have to come here, even if you have passion for the same thing. So I'm trying to say the passion thing is like two ways. Even if you have passion for the same thing, even if you're doing the same thing, you have to flip how you work. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Whereby you are still seeing the patient, you are happy about it, but then you have to let your boss and your colleague and everybody see, oh, I just saw this patient. Oh, the patient had this. I gave her 3 doses of this. I attended to, since morning I've attended to like 5 patients. Meanwhile, another in Nigeria, we go to say 50 laman shade, and we did do 50. Before we start to talk, we go to do 100. You see, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's like two ways where, of course, I think the point to the passion, it helps you go further in things, right? It helps you jump hurdles and do well. But the workplace culture and how things are perceived and what is the norms, so to speak, they're not exactly the same. And there are cases where, whether it's your passion or not your passion, if you want to be, even if you don't know here, even if you don't know the team. I mean, there was one of my friends, they were in a meeting, they had a problem with data. The person said, oh, I would do it. This guy was just there looking. He was looking and he could do it. At the end of the day, who did it? Him. Who is the person that was shouting they wanted to do? They were saying they would do it. They all went around, they could not do it. They came back to him. He had to figure the thing for them. So I think, yeah, you have to kind of flip how you work. I think that one is a given, actually. Maybe people might be lucky, you might be in a certain environment where the selection just happens to be that, people kind of understand you. Maybe, sometimes these things can happen, right? But I think that's more of an isolation rather than, but in general, you want to be out there. It's a struggle. It's a consistent struggle for someone like me, I can say, because me, when I'm working, in fact, I don't even want the follow person talk. I enjoy doing the work. It's an enjoyment for me to the extent that I don't need you, but I have to need you in this environment. I have to show, what I'm doing. And that in itself can be a mental stress whereby you have to, after you've done all the main things to you, looks like the main thing, you now realize, oh, in this environment, these are also main things that you need to, go out there and show and demonstrate and, so that you're not passive in some ways. I just wanted to say, I like that because it's something that I've experienced and a lot of us have experienced actually. And, and also my perspective on how I see the passion thing and the workplace and how they interact.
And again, Mark, I think in a lot of ways, this thing also depends on the type of job, that one is doing. People who typically do remote jobs will not have this issue a lot. Like this whole problem about you being out there and making sure that people know what you're doing.
Not true.
Not that.
Not true.
I mean, the thing normally with remote job, normally you meet with your supervisor, at least somebody that maybe your team lead, and you are always.
But you do group meetings now. You do group meetings. Yeah. I think what you guys are saying, if you understand it, is once there is a group dynamics, you have to show yourself. Is that not what you guys are saying? So it doesn't matter whether it's remote or whether it's in office.
That is very true. Like my, most recent job, we have my team, we have a weekly meeting. Then we have like a bigger team with different teams. We also have weekly meetings. Then we have like the whole organization's meeting.
Exactly.
Right? So it's more like, in fact, I was always, speaking to some of my colleagues, and I was like, it seems half of my day is doing meetings every single day, like one meeting to the other. And then you don't have much time to actually do your main work, And like my direct supervisor, we have every week I meet with her and I discuss without everything I did, from the last time we met till then. And then what we're going to be doing, going forward. She makes her comments and go over it, and then I now have to meet again with our whole supervisor. She meets with our own supervisor, but then as a group we meet with the supervisor, like our home boss, and everybody has to like see what you've been doing and talk about what you've been doing, right? That's when Elon Musk was sending out email, to federal employees, that they should, write 5 things that they've done and all that. I totally understand all that, but again, I feel like that's in itself. I feel like a lot of people, especially federal employees, may feel like they're already doing this every time. So who is this person that is coming to add? It's not like it's extra stress or extra work or something, but it's like who are you that I should be reporting what I'm doing to you, right? Because it's something that they already have that the old
Reporting system in place.
System in place, right? But anyway, I digress. So somebody who is like a biostatistician and who is always working from home, definitely, like you said, you always have teams meeting and always doing reports. So people always know what you're doing. But there are some other workplaces where they don't have that culture of steady meetings where you have opportunity to always report or you are required to always talk about what you're doing. In such work cultures, you have to put it upon yourself to find a way to show make what you're doing known. Because if you think, oh, they are seeing what I'm doing, I'm sending my reports anyway, I'm working on my thing, I'm sending, maybe doing whatever I'm supposed to do, and I'm sending in my reports and all that. There are ways, and people will still feel like you are not, you're not using the time and resources that the money they're paying you're paying you too much for whatever they feel you're doing. They feel like whatever you're doing is not still sufficient, it's not enough. They think you are earning more than what you're doing. They don't even have an idea the kind of time and everything that you put into doing that work. So it is, it's important for you to always, put it out there and find ways to, make it known. Not necessarily you doing some that kind of eye service. I wouldn't, there's eye service is one thing, but you showing your work and making everybody around you know that, okay, I am also here, I'm doing my thing, I'm intelligent, do not think that I don't know what I'm doing. You have to use your own environment, your own work environment, to determine how best to make it work for you. But it's always very, very important. And how that ties to mental health stress is when, like Annie said, you're working and working and working and you're not getting promoted. You're doing everything, maybe contributing more, within a team, but you're not getting promotion. Maybe nobody knows actually, maybe they don't actually know how much you're doing. Maybe somebody else is out there that is proving or showing that like they are doing most of the work when actually you're the one doing most of the work, right? So that's why that can lead to mental health stress for you, because it's like where it comes to the whole thing of work toxicity. But like you said, later, talking about work mental health is a huge, topic on its own that we can, focus on and discuss later. Our time is fast spent. Just one very good example, because I remember back in school, when I have a lot of examples back, at Georgia Southern, but just one example, there was a group work that we're doing and we had to like do a report. And one of my team members, I know her name very well, because I don't want to call her name. She wrote, I can't remember the exact word, but the spelling was wrong. I think the word is one of these words that have like, when you put like THEIR and THERE. Some people, put it, THEIR. And THERE, but that's not a specific word, but that's just, I can't remember the exact word it was, but it was wrong. And I corrected it. This girl said she's right, that I'm the one that is wrong. In fact, the statement she made then is that there's no way I can be right. That's what she said. I was like, at that point, it not even occurred to me then. Like,
oh, yeah.
She
so said, what was her skin color?
Well, she's black like us,
That was the reason I asked. So what I'm trying to say is the discrimination is not just racism. I want us to be able to start.
Mm.
Even the Black Americans too sometimes have the impression that you coming from Africa, right? There's this misconception that maybe they are better than you because they're already here, and that you are coming here to sing greener pasture. You know?
Yeah, so I mean, it's. I mean, I
Yeah.
would not put it like a blanket thing, but
No, I'm not blanking it. I'm saying some. I'm saying
yeah,
some.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
There's,
Some
there's
always feel,
generally lack of understanding between us in that
And
way.
then,
yeah. So that would challenge with her, and she, it was then like she said, "Oh, it's not possible that I'll be like I cannot be right," and I was
Doctor,
very sure about it that this I know the spelling for this one. You are the one
you
that
try to question yourself. You say, I don't have this fair.
we had to go up to the point of going to went to the professor, for the class.
Imagine.
This is the issue that we had, and the professor said, made it clear that I was right. She was embarrassed. The girl was embarrassed, due to that, because it was something that I think the embarrassment could have come from the fact that, number one, she was very sure that she was right, and then she was not expecting that I would. Maybe she just never thought that, someone like me is the one that will be correcting her.
So the basis of our argument is the fact that this person cannot be right. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
When there is a thing that you can look at the spelling and see if it's right or not.
You could have asked Google.
Yeah, you
so
could have looked at the thing and look for correct spelling objectively.
So since then, I've always, been in the class, and it gave me a whole different, it was like a awakening for me, within the class, like, if this person has this kind of mindset, about me, then what do other people, could it be that other people in the class, have, similar mindset? Or
yeah, that's the sad part. You start to think and think and think.
Yeah, right. So I mean, I'm beginning to start thinking about, what these some other folks think about me, like oh, this African boy.
Mm-hmm. That's when you begin to realize you are African.
You're
actually African. But it's also it's also unfortunate that someone doesn't even have that mindset. But now your head is already spinning in that way.
Yep.
See how that thing,
because it was not something I was thinking about like before. Like so the experience just kind of opened their own new
pulls you back,
especially for me. So it's just one of the issues that an example that I wanted to bring up. Like I said, there's so many, but maybe hopefully if we're going to be talking about this topic again, maybe next week or in the future, then I'll be able to talk about more examples. But it's been a great section today. Mental health is certainly a very huge topic that can take multiple episodes, and for our listeners and our viewers, I think one of the things that we wanted to take from here is not just our experiences, but also how we've been able to overcome those challenges, and also help ourselves not to fall into the trap of the mental health stress. And part of the example that I was given include creating like a group, like a WhatsApp group for international students, and where everyone can always have conversation and discuss. It kind of creates a community. Creating that community helps international students a lot to at least have someone to talk to in a new place. You get to a new place, you want to be able to speak to someone, and then when you are speaking to someone that understands your perspective, or knows where you're coming from, knows reasons like you, because you have similar cultural background, it's very, very helpful. Very, very helpful. Then practicing self-care is also important. And then one of the things that Mark said, attend social gatherings, go to social gatherings, organize parties, for between yourselves, and it doesn't have to be very extreme, parties, but at least social gatherings where everybody can come together and have fun, eat, drink, gist, and it's very, very helpful. Game nights, are also very helpful, and embrace cultural exchanges. It's one thing that I had in my notes as well. Like, not being able to actually learn about other people's culture can be very helpful. One of the things I did then was going to other, just Jordan, I think they had a very good. I think the international student community in Jordan was very helpful. Where we have this thing. I think it was every Tuesday that we usually have that.
Potluck.
Yeah, like is it potluck now, right? Like it's some kind of
Yeah, you
lunch.
bring food.
Yeah,
Yeah,
where people
people
bring
international
different
students eat, go to eat.
cuisines. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact name again. So you meet students from different countries, and learn more about many of the students. A lot of people I met are still my friends, today. So, and he also talked about churches, using religious institutions, going to religious institutions to, um, and it's also one way to build community. Especially if you are a Christian, you are a Muslim, going to the nearest church, that aligns with your beliefs, or going to a mosque, which in a lot of I think it's harder to find mosque compared to finding churches, in a place like America. But even if some using online services as well, if you cannot find a religious institution that aligns with your beliefs close to you, I'm sure there will be, online services that, you can take advantage of. But it's always better going to a physical location where you meet people and interact. A lot of times, when you meet some of these people, they can even be very helpful to you, and solve some of the problems that you would have as an international student. You know. And yeah, so I think those are just some of the ways, practice mindfulness, practice self-care, to help overcome mental health challenges, and develop effective time management skills is one thing. I would have brought in more on that, but for our time, I think we'll talk about that in subsequent episode. So thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Listen, I was just going to add to the list, maybe
Yeah,
the healthcare institutions, either in person, or some of them have this telehealth medicine or platforms that you can
right.
maybe meet a professional, or even apps that just have like things you can do to help, situate your mental health to put it in a better position. So
Yeah.
I think there are other resources as well that people can and I think walking in the sun too, maybe in the morning, and going to the gym. That I think those are important things to do
Going
as
to
well.
the gym is very helpful. Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. Especially for someone who stays alone, and staying in a staying alone can get you crazy sometimes. When your friends are not around, family is not around, and going to the gym actually helps you to breathe. It helps with your circulatory system, and then your mind as well. It helps with getting a mind in the right place. So I certainly agree with that. Aikohi, any last thoughts?
Well, basically, you guys have touched on most. I think as Africans, we should not shy away from using counseling services. I think that's very not what we're used to at all, because we don't have those facilities, a lot of them back home. So these facilities are here, and going there doesn't necessarily label you as being a mental patient. There's nothing wrong with seeking counseling help, talking
No.
to an empath, talking to a counseling or a counselor to help you go through some of the struggles. And I think why it's also important to do this, especially as a student, though you can also have these facilities when you're working, is for Georgia State. I remember they had three levels to this. They had individual counseling section, but I know that necessarily did not work. So they had a group counseling section where they bring people that are similar, people that are older in the system, to talk to the younger guys. And then basically like what we're doing now, they tell them some of the ways by which they were able to overcome some of those challenges. And also, like you guys already mentioned, there are also advocacy groups in the schools that can help you with food. Because I know in Georgia State, every Friday, they were giving out food stuff to all the students. So, guys,
Yeah.
that's one of the opportunity or one of the facilities if you're a student, because money is never there. to be able to take advantage of money. Money is one of the biggest stressor, or the lack of it. So all these mental health issues for Africans usually is tied to the fact that money, you want to succeed. So if you can have minimum ways to be able to get over, saving some money or spending less, please take advantage of those platforms. Go to those groups, get this food. They will also help you with housing. And I know there's had an emergency fund in Georgia State too. You can apply for it every semester. Not a lot, $500-600, but that goes a long way in paying 1 month or helping you with the food. And I think the last thing I just want to mention before we go is the need for mentorship. We as Africans, we neglect a lot in terms of that aspect, right? We always come into this place blind. Just like Blessing, I came in alone, no clear understanding of how the system was. So if you can actually have a mentor here that has gone through the roads you want to work on, that actually helps a lot. I think we should emphasize mentorship for Africans a lot, because mentorship doesn't always not only help build you or help guide you, it can also help you with life placement, jobs, opportunities. These are the advantages of having a mentor. So that's just a few things I wanted to add, and also to thank the viewers too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Very important points you made. Very, very important points that you made. And this brings us to the end of today's episode. And we thank every one of you for being part of it. Thank you for listening. For those of you that were able to stay to the end. And thank you for watching. We really, really appreciate you. We encourage you to please subscribe and create time to listen to our other episodes if you have not. And please, your comments are well needed. We want to hear from you, your experiences, and some of if you have questions as well, please send it across to us. We would love to get opportunities to answer some of your questions. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. And thank you again. And we will see you next week.
Now, before we go, when I don't hear about Bonham Boy and Sophia, we need to talk about a little bit of acting for the next episode. All right, guys. I just wanted to.
All right.